Today we're going to do an orientation video for prospective renters and renters with upcoming dates here. This is for if you want to expedite your check-in process. And so we're just going to go around the whole rig. We're going to start here in the front and just talk about all the things you need to know. All right, so we're going to start here in the front. The front has a tongue storage box you can see here. And inside is where all the supplies are going to be that you'll need to set up. You can see here on the lid, there's a list of all the things you can find inside. And so if you're looking for something, just take a quick look at that list there, but everything is inside here. You're gonna find everything from your water hose to your electrical connections to your propane tank. This is a leveler to go side to side if you need to level out. You'll find a wheel step inside, all your tent poles, your awning stakes. There's adapters inside to go from different voltages if you need to go from 50 amp to 30 amp. Or even 120 volt, 20 amp to 30 amp. So all that's going to be here inside the tongue box. Just make sure before you leave and pack up, just double check your list there and just make sure everything is inside the box still. All right, up front on the rig, you'll notice there are levelers right here in the front and also on the driver's side over here just above the wheel well. And so you can use those to level your rig. You can see right now we're just a little bit off from the front to back level. You can adjust that by taking your tongue jack over here and going down, and that would level the rig out. If you need to go side to side, that's when you're going to want to pull out these Anderson levelers, put it on the lower side and get to the point of being level. And then there's another triangle in here to chock, basically lock in that level so that you don't go sliding. All right, while we're on the front of the rig here, let's talk step points, where you can step on the rig. So right here on the A-frame, you can step right on here. I always take this 7-way connector out first, just so I don't step on it and damage it. So just pull that out first. You can step anywhere right in here on the A-frame. Same thing on the other side. You can step anywhere on this side. Again, just watch out for the LP quick connect down there. You don't want to step on that. Just make sure you're stepping on that A-frame there. All right, on the front cap, you'll see there is a docking light for at nighttime, and the switch for that is inside the kitchen slide. We'll get to that a little bit later. All the way back inside the A-frame here is a battery disconnect. Now for most renters, you don't need to worry about this. That just needs to remain in the on position the entire time. This is more for if the rig was going into storage for a while and we didn't want to run down the battery, we would turn that off. So just pretty much leave that alone. It should be in the on position. All right, also on the front tongue here, you're gonna see your front stabilizers. These help stabilize the rig once you get to your campsite. Use the crank that's inside the front tongue box here. And you just put the crank on here, turn them down all the way to the ground, and they'll help keep the rig from wobbling back and forth once you're at your campsite there. There's another one on the opposite side and 2 in the rear. Okay, moving on to the side here. We've got a couple connections here. This one is your city water connection. So when you get to your campsite, this is where you're gonna hook the blue water hose from the campsite water spigot straight into the city water connection. You just thread it on there, tighten it, hand tighten it, and then you'll turn the water on at your campsite. Right next to that is your cable satellite jack. If you go somewhere and you do want to plug in, that's where you'll do it right there. All right, directly behind that's your spare tire. In the event of a flat, it's a full-size spare tire, all ready to go. And right behind that is a freshwater connection. All right, so this is only for off-the-grid camping. This is connected to the 30-gallon water tank that sits under the rig, basically in the underbody there in the frame. And so this basically goes straight to that 30-gallon tank. It's not a connection where you thread the hose on. You just place the hose there, let it rest, and then you would fill up until the tank is full. It does have an overflow on it right there. And so if the tank is filled to the brim, it's just going to come out the top, and that's how you'll know it's full essentially. But it's 30 gallons. Again, you only use this though if you're going to camp off the grid and you don't have access to a water spigot at your campsite. All right, moving back around here to the side, driver's side. Let's talk step points again. These fenders are made for stepping on, so you can step on the lower side. You can step up on the upper side here, all the way around here. Don't forget there is a wheel step in the tongue storage box you can put on either tire, and it just gives you another step point, you know, about halfway up the tire. Makes it a little bit easier to get up. All right, moving on over. On the rig, you've got some exterior vents here, 2 ports here, one, and then another one up here. And keep in mind, this is a toy hauler, and so just by code, they have to have ventilation on it, so that if you were to have a four-wheel or something with gasoline, oil, things like that, that it's got a place for fumes to vent out. So that's what those are. They double as little vents if you're sleeping in there and you don't have air conditioning for some reason, you're not maybe at a campsite plugged in, and you're just running off the grid. You can have to open up those vents. There's a convenient fan inside that'll circulate some air. So you'll open these from the inside. We'll cover that once we get onto the inside. All right, let's talk about these doors. So there's a door on either side of the rig. Here we're on the driver's side. We've got one key that operates every single lock on the rig. So this is the only key that you need to keep up with here. On the door locks, there's 2 locks. There's a handle lock right here and a deadbolt lock right here. So this is the handle lock. You can see when the key is lined with the little key symbol there, then it's in the lock position. So it's locked now, unlocked now. Then this top one here is the deadbolt. And so this one has a deadbolt that goes all the way through the door here. And so this one you're going to turn this way to unlock and then counterclockwise to lock. So you got 2 locks there. So I'm going to unlock it now. And to shut these doors, every once in a while I get questions about that. They have such a tight seal, they're really not meant to slam like a car. You just kind of get the door pushed up all the way and then gently push tight. So let me show you that again. So you're shutting the door, just push tight. One more time. There you go. All right. Okay, down here on the driver's side rear corner, you've got the electrical connection. It's a 30 amp native connection. So most campgrounds are going to have 50 amp or 30 amp. Some only have 30 amp. So either way, you're covered. If you have 50 amp power at your campsite, there's a converter in the tongue box. But basically, you just connect your 30 amp connection into here from the power cord in the tongue box. Then you'll go to your campsite, plug in the surge protector that's included in the tongue storage box, and then connect that surge protector to the same cord that's connected here, and then turn your breaker on at your campsite. And that'll get you all powered up. So 30 amp. All right, moving off to the back here, we've got our rear stabilizers, same as the front. Put the crank on there that's in the tongue storage box and crank it down. You can snug those up pretty tight, and that'll help the rig from rocking once you get it at your campsite there. All right, moving back to the back here, our big door on the back of the toy hauler. Same key on these locks up here. Let me show you how that works here. They've got little dust flaps on here. Just be careful. These dust flaps can have a tendency to come out. There's no, it's just kind of a rubber tight fit in there. So just make sure these rubber caps stay put there. Keep an eye out for them. Right here, you can see the lock here. You can see there's a little key icon right off to the side here. And so right now it's unlocked. If I put the key in there and turn it, now it's going to be locked. And so if I try to lift up on the handle, it won't work. All right, so I always want to unlock that first, have it pointed away from that key symbol there. And that key symbol is right there if you can see it up close. All right, so we're going to open this side by lifting up and turning it a full 180 degrees. We're going to go over to the other side and do the same thing. All right, so this side, it's already unlocked. Notice how it's not pointing toward the key. We're going to lift up that handle, turn it 180 degrees, and there you can see the door now is loose and wanting to open. Now, before you open it, once you get the door partially open, go ahead and rotate that handle back down. That way it's not pointing out and it doesn't hit the ground. We're going to do the same thing over here. And then we're going to ease it down all the way. It doesn't have any spring on it, like a spring-loaded door or anything like that, so it is just gravity that's going to bring it down. So you'll want to be careful just to make sure someone's holding on to it. It does have rubber feet on the bottom, and so those rubber feet is what it rests on. So you can rest that at your campsite or on concrete, wherever you're at, that's fine. The ramp door in the back is made for loading ATVs, motorcycles, and whatnot, so it's strong enough so you can walk on it, you can step on it, you can sit on it, all that good stuff. All right, then as we move into the rig, you'll see the big screen on the back here. It's got a zipper that runs down from the top to the bottom. The screen is held on by magnets, and so if you wish to remove it, we'll do that inside later. You just want to pull on those magnets gently and fold it up. All right, moving right around here onto the passenger side. Okay, so down here we've got a 120 volt outlet. That's only going to work when you're plugged into shore power. Directly below that's a solar port. If you happen to rent our add-on solar kit, 130 watt panel, that's where you'll plug in. All right, then on the passenger side, we've got the same door that we've got on the driver's side. So again, just to show how that key works. So when that symbol right there on the deadbolt is perpendicular and not pointing to the key, it's unlocked versus locked. All right, so now it's locked and now it's unlocked. On the deadbolt, you're going to turn this one counterclockwise to lock the deadbolt and then turn it clockwise to unlock. All right. Let's talk about screen doors. Both sides are going to have this similar screen door here so that you can keep the bugs out. So I'm going to shut it here and you kind of get an idea of how that looks. So it's got an access panel here so you can, from the inside, get to the door locks that would be hidden. We'll show that inside. But that way it keeps the bugs out, and then it's just got a handle here to release. So you just open and close like that. And then it's got a catch so that it grabs onto the door. You can see right there, and it'll catch onto that, so you're all set. All right. It's got a grab handle on either side, getting in and out. There's no step on this unit. It's so low to the ground. Really the easiest way for most people to get out is just as they sit on the edge there and kind of hop out. All right. It's got windows on both sides. They're frosted, so partially translucent. Okay, going back to the step points. You've got step points here on both sides. You can step there, you can step there, you can step there. All acceptable places to step. All right, continuing on the passenger side, you've got your pantry. Got it all opened up here, and I'll show you how to close it in here in a minute. Got your sink base, got your faucet, and some more dry storage up there. On the pantry door, there's some pouches here that can go around it if you'd like to put some utensils or dry goods up in there. And then this is designed to put a paper towel roll. You can just hook it onto one of these grommets here, and you have a nice spot to hang some paper towels or a towel. Next to the pantry is your spray port. It's an air compressor style quick disconnect. So you just push on that little connector and it comes out. Push it right back in there. So you've got your spray port and your faucet here, and both of those are going to be connected to the fresh water. So if you're plugged into your campsite, the water supply is going to feed into both of these. If you're off the grid and you've got water in your water tank, then once you turn on the water pump, water is going to be fed into both of these sources here. All right, let's take a look at the kitchen slide. All right, so on these cam locks here on these doors, just show you how they work real quick. You can imagine a tongue inside the door behind this wall, and the tongue is always going to be lined up with the direction of this lever, this latch here. And so right now the tongue is engaged, and that keeps the door nice and tight. On the key cam locks, down here, this one is not engaged right now. If you can imagine a tongue behind here aligning with the key, it's pointing up right now. And so we're going to turn it. And this one, sometimes you got to push in on this door to make sure it's nice and tight. So now it's locked. So basically just remember the direction of the key that it's pointing is the direction of the tongue, and that keeps it locked. So turn it and unlock. So sometimes some of these doors are really tight for for the seal, and so you just want to make sure that when you're unlocking, you're putting some pressure on the door to relieve that seal there. All right. So we're going to unlatch this one here, open it up. You'll notice that the door does have magnets on it right here and a place to receive it. And so as you open that door, it's going to lock. That way the door's not flapping in the wind. All right, so let's take a look in here at our kitchen slide. You've got up on the wall here some controls. You've got a front cap light. We'll turn that on. That's all the way on the front here on this cap. You can see that light right there, helpful at nighttime if you want a little light to light up your campsite there in the front. Then this right here is your tank pad heater. So this is really only for camping in the wintertime when things are below freezing. And basically it engages some pads on the water tank, the fresh water tank, if you have water in there, to keep that water from freezing. So you only need to use that if you're in cold weather, below freezing. Next to that, you've got a gauge here that's going to show your battery level and your tanks. And so you can see the little buttons here, battery and fresh. So if we push the fresh button, it's going to show how much water's in the fresh tank right now. It's empty. These gauges, by the way, are kind of notoriously inaccurate in the RV industry. You can see here, you only got empty, 1/3, 2/3, and full. So, when you go from 25% to 34%, it may jump all of a sudden just because it's registering one of those increments. So just kind of, take these gauges with a grain of salt. This particular rig in particular, it seems to be fairly accurate, but just keep that in mind. And you've also got a battery meter there. It's going to show your battery level. We've got a more sophisticated one inside. I'll show you that later. And then last here, you've got a water pump switch. This is only for off-the-grid use. So in other words, what that does is it turns on the water pump that pumps water out of the water tank. So most people, when you're at your campsite, you don't need to flip this switch on because that's just gonna burn the pump out. In fact, I'll just turn it on now so you can hear what it sounds like. So you'll hear it's trying to pump water. There's no water there for it to pump. And so it's just kind of cycling. It'll burn up the pump. So just remember, only turn that switch on if you're off the grid and you have water in your water tank. If you hear the pump cycling like that needlessly, it's basically looking for water and it can't find it. So you'll want to turn that pump switch off. All right, directly above that, we've got a light. All these lights are LED and they have a little button in the middle. Just push on that button and that lights up the whole bay inside. We got a 120 volt outlet. This one works only when you're plugged into shore power. Then next to that, we've got a 12 volt outlet. This is for the refrigerator. And then over here is your inverter. This is for off the grid if you need 120 volt power. There's an outlet inside the rig and also one right here that you can plug into. This is only for off the grid camping though. There's no need when you're on shore power to use the inverter because basically you're going from 12 volts to 120 volts. So it doesn't make any sense to go from 120 volts to 12 volts back to 120. So only for off the grid use. All right, let's take a look at the kitchen slide here. We'll back up just a little bit so you can see. So directly in the bottom here is where the kitchen set goes. So we offer this kitchen set to all of our renters. You can see it's got a security seal on the tag. And that's just how we keep up with it being sanitized and cleaned. Everything gets rigorously cleaned and sanitized before. If you're interested in what's inside these components, we have full pictures on our website showing everything laid out and a list also. But this is offered to our renters as an add-on. You can see here, if you have not selected it already and you get to your campsite, you can look it up here on our website, adventure.rocks/add-ons. All right, it is a $40 option, and that's just basically covers the cost for us to sanitize it in between renters. But it is a very nice compact set, has pretty much everything you need to be cooking while you're camping. All right, so all that gets stored in this bottom compartment here. When we pack up, the sink basin over here will also get put in this compartment here. Well, let's show how we open it up. There's a lever down here. You're gonna put your thumb on it and push it to the left. And that's gonna release that. If I don't push that and I just try to pull, it's not gonna come out. So I gotta push it to the left, pull the slide out. I'm gonna extend it all the way out. So you can hear I just extended it all the way out. And there is a foot underneath here that you're gonna wanna extend. So just take it, put it down, and then you'll adjust that leg to make sure that the slide gets supported properly. All right, let's take a look up top. We've got a standard range here, a gas range that runs off the propane. It's got a little splash guard on either side. And you've got a 2-burner cooktop. You've got your gas knobs here. They over time do have a tendency to wear off. Just remember, off is pointing out towards you. And then when you push down and engage, you start out at low and go all the way up to high. So just keep that in mind. All right, and you've got your left burner and your right burner. Pretty straightforward there. To connect up that gas range, you're going to take the gas hose that's in this front tongue storage box, and you're going to connect it right down here to this quick disconnect. And when you do, you're going to move this lever and have that lever align with the pipe, and that's going to turn the gas on from the propane tank. Of course, you'll also need to actually turn the propane tank on right here, and that's going to get your gas going from there into the regulator, down to your LP quick connect, through that hose, and then into the slide disconnect right here, and that'll feed the range there. If you haven't used it, for a while, using it the first time, you may have to bleed some air out of the line, and so when you turn your range on initially, you may not get it to light. You may not hear anything but air coming out. And that's pretty normal. You just have to purge all that air out of the line. So just make sure you got your lighter handy and ready to light that gas. The lighter is included down here, and so that is included for all renters to be able to light that range. All right, so that's the gas range. All right, let's take a look at the refrigerator. This is a compressor-driven refrigerator, and so it's going to keep the everything inside super cold, just like a fridge in your household. It seems like 32 is about the best temperature to set things to. That way your food stays nice and fresh. So typically we just don't adjust that temperature, but if you needed to, you could use the set button to go up or down. But right now, what it's reading is the current temperature that it is actually registering inside the unit there. All right, take a look inside the fridge real quick so you can get an idea what that looks like. So it's got a deep basket here with the divider in the middle. If water were to accumulate in here for some reason, condensation, you need to drain. There is a drain there at the bottom you can pull out. So it's got a basket there, two sides, and then another little compartment here, and a nice little light for nighttime. But this stays super cold in here. We make sure it's always cooled down ahead of time for renters. Make sure when you shut it that you are hearing that click. That click is what keeps the seals all nice and tight and sealed, so just make sure you hear that click every time. All right, again, the fridge is powered by 12 volt natively, and so you'll see there's a cord back in there, and that cord runs up to the connector inside right up here. So if for some reason the fridge isn't working, just make sure you're plugged in. All right, let's talk about pushing the kitchen slide in. Just a couple things to be careful for. Of course, make sure that your leg is folded up down here at the bottom, and it actually clips into place. So you have to clip it into place pretty firmly. And then to push it, you have to, again, use this lever, and you have to push it to the left. So I'm going to push it to the left, and then I'm going to gently push the slide in. Now, as I'm going in here, you'll see how close everything is as you're pushing it in. So there's the cord that feeds the fridge, and all the way back in there is a little electrical panel, but you can see there's room to get everything in. So just watch as you're pushing things in that you're not snagging the cord, running into anything. And you want to make sure you push it all the way in so that it locks. And that way when you give it a tug, you can see it's not coming out, it's not going anywhere. All right, there is a Velcro strap in there. You can see that goes around the fridge, and that just keeps it stable. If you're going over some bumpy terrain, you just feed it through the handle on the fridge and go up to the top, and it clips onto the other side there. So that's a nice helpful feature there. You can see the fridge just cycled on because it got it warmed up a little bit as I opened it up. So right now it's 34 degrees. You can see the green light turned on. That's indicating that it's actually cooling, that the compressor is on, and you can hear it real softly in the background. So if it's orange, if that green light there is orange, that means it's turned on, but it's not cooling because there's no call for refrigeration. When it's green like that, then it's actually cooling the unit down. All right, that's about it for inside the outdoor kitchen. So for shutting the door, we got that magnet that's keeping the door open. I'm just gonna close that door. And again, our tongue is pointed in the same direction as the outside latch here. So you can see that tongue there. So make sure when you shut the door that your tongue is pointed up or down. You don't want it pointed out to the wall. All right, so I'm pointing my tongue up, and then I'm turning my lever, and now we're locked. And same thing down here. Right now we're unlocked. If you wanted to, you could lock the kitchen slide as well. Typically, once you're at your campsite, you know, if you're not going anywhere, you can just use the lever on the top. That's usually sufficient for most people. But if you are going somewhere, it's a good idea to go ahead and lock up the kitchen and the pantry. And again, use the same key, one key for everything on the rig. All right, there's an outside light on the rig here. Right now it's in the white mode. It can also change to amber. Amber's better for at nighttime with bugs, not attracting so many bugs. They don't seem to like amber as much as they do white. And that switch is going to be right inside the rig here on the passenger side, right next to the fire extinguisher. So you can see it's up right now. If we put it in the middle, that's off. And if we put it down, that's going to be orange. All right, so now we've put it in the orange mode. So the orange, the amber is, like I said, better for nighttime, keeping bugs away. All right, let's talk a little bit about the awning while we've got it set up here. This awning provides a tremendous amount of shade. It's super nice, gives you UV protection. Really, really nice feature to have on the rig. The one thing that you always got to remember is to make sure you stake it down. There are 10 stakes included. We've got a whole nother video how to set up the batwing awning, how to tear it down. But most important thing is stake it down. So 2 stakes per awning. They go at an angle diagonal through the legs at the bottom there. It's so important to stake it down. You know, it only takes one gust of wind to pick up this awning like a giant kite and cause damage. So it's probably one of the most common claims we get from renters is damage to the awning. So just be extra careful. Make sure you always stake down that awning. If it gets gusty or the weather starts to get inclement, you know, it's really better just to pack the awning up. It's not worth taking the risk. So just keep that in mind. All right, just inserting a quick demonstration on how to pack up the pantry. So you've got your sink basin here. You just lift it right out. You're gonna put it into this storage compartment right here. And we keep all the kitchen stuff inside this compartment, inside the sink basin. So you can see here, there's a section there. It's also gonna be your lighter, little cleaning cloth. We also keep the cast iron griddle underneath here. And so you'll see there, we slide it right under. Keep it on this pad to keep things from getting all scratched up. And then you also got a bag of more utensils in there. All right, then once you pull that basin out, you just fold these metal arms in. Then for your sink, you're just gonna tilt it down and slide it on in there, just like that. Always make sure your valve is turned off. That way, if you go to another campsite or connect your water, it's not gonna be in the on position, so always make sure that is pointed down. And then to disconnect your spray port here, you're just gonna push on this outer ring. Get real close so you can see that. And then it comes right out of there. Here's a kind of a quick tip. When you disconnect your water from your campsite, go ahead and release the pressure after you turn the water off at your campsite on the spigot. Go ahead and release the pressure here by opening this up, just like I did now. And that's gonna make it a lot easier to disconnect your water hose from the outside of the rig. So just remember, turn that valve open, and then once it's drained, go ahead and turn it back off. That's gonna make it a lot easier to disconnect your water hose. All right, we've got a whole nother video on how to set up the rooftop tent, how to tear it down, so I'll put links to those in the description. But while it's out here, let me point out just a few things to keep an eye out for. Keep in mind, the ladder is what supports the folding half of the tent vertically. So make sure that ladder is always down, always touching the ground, always engaged fully. You also want to make sure when you unfold the tent, there's a little warning message here. You want to make sure that the U-channel of this folding base that we're standing under right now, and it's located right behind here, you want to make sure that U-channel is engaged properly into the fixed base that's mounted to the roof of the rig there. And I'll show you from a side view what that looks like. But basically, this is what locks in and supports the folding half of the tent base that we're standing under. If you're not careful when you unfold the tent, the folding base may not actually be engaged in the U-shaped channel. And then if you put weight up on the tent, you can imagine what happens. It's going to either bend or collapse. So very, very important to make sure that U-channel is engaged. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm just hopping over here to the side. Let me do a real close-up shot so you can see. So this is the U-channel right there. And you can see how this is the folding tent base on this side, and this is the fixed portion. So you want to make sure that U-channel is inside that notch. If that U-channel is not inside the notch, or it's pulled out, or just not in all the way, then you've got a problem. You want to make sure that's engaged. So just kind of wiggle the base. Sometimes you have to unfold it and refold it, but just make sure that U-channel is engaged, just like you see it there. Very important. All right, while it's open, we'll take a quick look inside the tent. You'll notice you got the boot bags on both sides. We do ask our renters to remove their shoes. The whole tent is a mattress basically up in there. So you want to make sure we keep dirt and debris out of there as much as possible. So those boot bags stay on there the whole time. Nice and big, you can fit several pairs in there. You'll notice inside the rig just how dark it is with the light suppressing technology engaged. Really, really nice, especially in the morning if you want to get a little bit of rest or take a nap in the daytime. Very, very nice. It does have windows. It's got a skylight up top and then windows on the side, windows and doors on both sides. So you can open those up. All of them have T-bars and loops, so you can easily loop those and stay nice and secure. So it makes it really, really nice for getting a nice breeze in there. There is a little gear, kind of a gear mesh net up top there. It's not made for heavy stuff, but you can put some lighter things up there to keep them out of the way. And we do ask renters, as a rule, just to use a sleeping bag on the mattress for sanitary reasons. So make sure you bring a sleeping bag to put on top of this mattress for everybody that's going to be sleeping up in the tent. All right, we've got the rain fly engaged right now. You can put actually 4 spring rods or spring poles on both sides. We just have 2 right now, but if you really want, you can put another set, and those holes are right here for the second one. So that is an option. But be sure to check out our full video on how to set up and tear down the tent. It's got all the steps involved. You know, just take your time, be extra careful, make sure everything is followed according to the instructions. And it's a great feature. Kids, adults, of all ages, people love it. All right, we're gonna take a look inside here on the rig. I'm on the driver's side right now, and you can see on the floor coming in through the door, we've got a mat down here on the floor just to protect the floor. Underneath is a vinyl type linoleum floor. So we keep this mat in here for all the renters just as a protective measure. In the middle, you'll notice it looks like there's something underneath, and there's a little hidden storage compartment underneath. I'll show you what that looks like. You just lift it up, and there's just a little bit of storage to put some smaller items. We keep a table in there. You can put a few other smaller items in there if desired. And it just rests on some little rubber feet that are in there. All right, fold the mat back out here. You'll notice if you are loading cargo, there are D-rings here, 4 of them, to tie your cargo down. We'll make another video on how to load something. But basically the rig's pretty simple. On the back here, you've got a giant screen door, and it's got a zipper down the middle. It's got magnets that attach everything, and I'll just show you real quick how to remove this. They're those strong magnets, and so you just want to grab it by the magnet. Don't just pull it by the screen material, grab it by the actual magnet itself. And they're just going all the way down the perimeter. And once you get it removed, you can fold it up, put it in a storage compartment, get it out of the way. All right, this gives us a little better vantage point to hop in here. All right, so you can kind of see right now it's configured with the cushions and a couch seating position. You can, of course, change that. It's super easy. You just unfold them. When you unfold those cushions all the way, it's going to produce a queen-size bed, 60 by 80. We do ask our renters to always use a sleeping bag for sanitary reasons. So make sure you do bring a sleeping bag. You can do 2 singles. You can do a double, queen-size sleeping bag. Just make sure you do have a sleeping bag. On either side, you've got folding tables and a little cup holder, and I'll show you what those look like. So to unfold it, you just pull up on the table, and it's going to latch underneath here. Sometimes the latching mechanisms, you just have to unfold them there. Show you what that looks like there. And then to release it, you're going to use two hands, and you're going to push up right here. And that's what's going to release it. So you'll push up on that, and that will release the table and fold it back down. Just remember, two hands, both sides, right here and right there. You got your cup holder here. You can adjust for different size cups. If you're wondering what that black box is there on the wall, that is the pantry storage that's accessible from the outside. Up top, you've got the Bluetooth speaker. Then behind the TV, you've got all the storage space with some netting there. It's a pretty decent storage space. You can fit carry-on sized, suitcases back there, backpacks. It's not meant for sleeping on, for weight. It's just for bags, things like that. The TV is on an articulating mount. It's got a little strap there to secure it in transit. You can just undo this little quick clip. And then you can see how it turns and spins. You see what that mount looks like there. It is hooked up to digital antenna on the roof. You can see it's right there. Right now that antenna is off. It's got an amplifier in it. That's what helps it pick up all the channels real nicely. Just a little button right here. When you push it, that turns the antenna on, which is on the roof. It's got the two little antennas coming out of it. Typically, if you're not using the TV, you just want to keep that amp off, just because it does have an amp draw on the battery. And so it will draw down the battery. And same with the TV. Typically, if you're not using it, we just unplug it. The TV is 12 volt natively, so it can work off the grid. And the power for that TV is right there. You just want to plug it in. You'll notice a red light that lights up, indicating that the TV is ready to use. And you'll see also down there, indicating that TV is plugged in. All right, so that's everything back there. Let's talk about the lights on the rig. So inside the rig, you've got 3 of these LED puck lights. And again, they just have a button you push up in the middle. Same on all of them. All right, next to the TV, you've got your storage wardrobe. You can see inside here, you've got a little bit of space to hang some clothes, put some more belongings. Got a shelf up top and a little storage cubby. You can see that's where the remote is. There is a little LED lantern that we supply to our renters to use up in the tent, along with 3 different USB charging cables. There's 1 lightning cable, 2 USB-C cables. There's a backup power cable for the fridge for 120 volt if needed, and the remote for the TV. And that black box in the back there is for the Bluetooth speaker if you wanted to store it in there instead. All right, so that's your wardrobe storage. All right, so you can see inside here what those vent ports look like. So to open these up, you're just gonna grab on this, pull, and rotate it to either side. You can see how it's open all the way. Now it's closed, and makes it really nice at nighttime if you need just a little bit of a breeze. Open that up, get some ventilation. You'll see right next to it is a fan on a gimbal mount. This is 12 volt natively, so it will work off the grid. If you need to adjust it, you'll see a little lever up here. It's in the locked position now. Now it's in the unlocked. So you can pivot the fan up or down, wherever you need to make it. Just remember, only do it when that's in the up position, not the lock position. You can also turn the fan wherever you need to. Rotates on all axes. And then to turn it on, you've got your power switch up here and your different speeds: low, medium, high, and off. So it's got 3 different speeds. It's also got a timer here if you wanted to set a timer. I'll show you how that works. You can see how it lights up. It shows you the different number of hours you could leave it on there. All right, it's one of those fans where the blades are semi-rigid, and so if you've got it running and you stick your finger in there, it's not going to chop your finger off. I don't recommend sticking your finger in there, but it it is safe for kids. Just remind them not to be sticking their finger in there to begin with. All right, moving back in the rig here, you notice there is a smoke detector. Definitely don't want to deactivate that. That is for your safety there. Runs on a 9 volt battery. While we're on that topic, there also is a CO detector. You can see back there, and that is connected to 12 volt actually, and that runs all the time. There's no gas appliances in the rig. It's just outside in that kitchen slide, so it's really just a code issue to have that in there, especially being a toy hauler. But You do have a CO detector and a smoke detector. All right, then you've got your table on the other side, just like on the opposite. And down there's your D-ring for securing things. So again, you can move those cushions around as you need to. Let's talk a little bit about the electronics here. This is your converter right here. Basically, it's like a circuit box in your house, kind of. Really, there's no need to open this up, but inside is where all the breakers are for your 120 volt and your fuses for the different 12 volt things. They're all labeled, but again, there's really no need to go in here. If you are having a problem with something, it's better just text us and let us know, because we can help you rather than doing something inadvertently in there that would cause damage. All right, back against this wall, you've got a 120 volt outlet here. This one is GFCI. All of them are actually. This is where if you were to trip one of your outlets and it got in contact with some water, this is where you would reset it. And so you can see what that looks like there. You just push that reset button in once it's plugged into shore power. Then you've got two USB charging ports here, standard 5 volt. I think it's 2 amp, so it'll charge your iPad, your iPhone, all that good stuff. Standard USB. Then over here we've got our Victron Energy battery monitor. This is going to tell us how much battery we have remaining. Whatever you do, don't hit these setup and select buttons. You want to hit just the plus and minus. And this is going to tell us how many hours we have left if we don't plug into shore power. It's going to tell us our percentage, our amp draw, how many watts, and so forth. So all that's super helpful if you're off the grid. Typically, we just leave it on the percentage. If you're plugged into shore power, there's really no need to be concerned about your battery level. This is really just for off the grid camping. Next to it is going to be your inverter. Again, this is only for off the grid camping, but if you are off the grid and you need 120 volt, you'll hit this switch here. It's going to turn the inverter on that we saw in the kitchen slide. And then this outlet here is fed through the inverter. So you'll only use this outlet if you're off the grid, not connected to 120 volt power. There's really no point to turn it on unless you are off the grid and using it. It will draw power from the battery even if you've got nothing plugged into it. So there's really no reason to turn that on. All right, so that's all your power inside the rig. You do have another outlet on the back here. You can see on that back corner as well. And then there's one directly outside right there, and another one in the kitchen again. All right, let's take a look at the air conditioning system. Go up to the ceiling here. You can see a better view of it. All right, so the AC is the one appliance that you have to be plugged into shore power in order for it to operate. And so just remember that if you're off the grid, the air conditioner will not work. You do need to be plugged into shore power, and probably 30 amp power. Some people want to know, can they plug into their grandparents' house to an outlet outside and run the AC? It just kind of depends on the power that's going to that outlet. The AC pulls a pretty heavy load when it's turned on, especially when it's firing the compressor up. So it really just depends on the source of your power. But if you're plugged into 30 amp power at a campsite, you got nothing to worry about. You'll have plenty of power. So let's take a look at the controls up here. You can see here there is a black line on the knob, and that indicates what it's pointing to, what the knob is selected on currently. So right now it's in the off position on that black dot. If you turn it to the red, that's going to be your heat strips. There's a 5 kBTU heat strip inside there. Really only need that if it's going to be below 45, 50 degrees. And that's going to turn the heater on. Again, that only works if you're plugged in shore power. Then you've got over here the cool side. You got 3. You've got a low cool, medium cool, and a high cool. So this is a 13.5 BTU system. So obviously oversized for this unit. They just don't make them much smaller than that. So typically you're going to keep this on low, and that's going to help the system run longer and get more of that humidity out of there, as opposed to putting on high, where it's going to be turning the compressor on and off cycling, and it's not going to do you as much good getting rid of that humidity. So I recommend for most people, keep it on that low cool position. And then over here on the other side is your thermostat. So that's going to control how much the compressor cycles on and off. And again, you can see there's a black line there that shows you where it is. And so for most people, they're probably going to put it somewhere toward the max cool side. The fan on this unit will run 100% of the time when it's on any of the cooling modes, and that's just for circulation. If you listen carefully, you'll hear the compressor turning on and off as it cycles with the thermostat, with the temperature control essentially. So don't be fooled if you hear the fan running. it may not mean the compressor's on too. It just keeps that running for circulation to keep everything well ventilated in here. So just remember that, the fan always runs. If you did, for whatever reason, want to run just the fan and not have the compressor turn on at all, you would then turn this knob to this gray and black side here, and that would control your fan speed, low, medium, and high. But again, for most people, you're going to be running the cool side, the AC, and so you're going to be turning the knob to this side, to the low, medium, or high cool. It's usually best to leave all the vents open just because it is such a small unit. And so you can see here that that's going to open up those vents. We kind of call that a cool dump on the front there. And then you do have vents on the side. Now, a lot of times we just leave these vents open. This one in particular is a little bit tricky because when you lift it open, it wants to catch up here. And so you kind of have to push in without bending or snapping it. So we typically just leave these open all the time. And that way it's ready for all of our renters here. So there's 4 vents, 3 on this side, and then 1 on this back side. And again, this one's kind of, the front and back are a little bit tricky. You just have to give that plastic some room to open up all the way. So that's where the cool air is going to come out of. The intake, the return is right there. All right, so that's how the air conditioning works. And you do have another puck light in the back there. All right, let's take a minute and just talk about how the doors work from the inside. So you can see right now we're looking at the passenger side door. It is closed all the way. This is your screen door latch. Of course, when the door's shut, it's not going to do anything. But to get to those door controls, you're going to slide this panel open. And so here you can see your door lever. That's going to open your door. And then here you've got your deadbolt. And so right now it is locked when it's in this position. When it's like this, it's unlocked. So if you try to open the door when the deadbolt's engaged, it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to sit there. You have to make sure you turn that so the red dots are aligned, and then it's in the ready open position there. Then to open, you just pull on this, it opens right up. And again, you can see how shutting that is for when you have the screen door closed and the door open, keeping the bug out, but most of the time you're going to keep that open so you can get to everything. As far as shutting the door, this is not like a car door, so you don't want to be slamming it. It's got a really tight seal on here, so when you get to the end there, you're just going to gently close it and just pull, and it'll latch shut just like that. So don't try to slam it because it's really not good for the walls. But again, I'll just show you what that looks like. So you pull the door shut all the way, and then you just pull right here, and you'll hear it latch shut just like that. All right, so that's how the doors work. Both sides are the same. Right next to it, you'll see there is a fire extinguisher for emergencies. That's just per code for RVs. And last but not least, up here on the wall, we've got just a few warning labels. We do have a welcome label that we put in here. And we just want to welcome you. Thank you for using the rig. We do have a link to the rules. Be sure to check those out before renting, just to make sure you have everything, mainly things like sleeping bags and rules for pets, that sort of thing. If you have any questions while you're on your camping trip, don't hesitate to call or text. We do have that phone number on the renter's guide as well. And don't forget, be sure to return the rig clean to avoid the cleaning fee. All right, well, thanks for joining us on this brief orientation. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're glad to help. Wait, don't turn it off yet. I forgot a few things. Just want to mention that we do give this renter's guide to all our renters to take on their trips. And this has all the information about the rig, how to use it. It's basically a duplicate of what you'll find on our website under the adventure.rocks/help. There are some videos online, of course, but basically there's a table of contents, has everything from orientation, towing and hitching, cargo setup, during your stay off the grid, teardown, and rules. Let me point out just a few quick things real quick. So under orientation, there's a section here, what are some of the most common mistakes made during rentals? And you can pause this if you want, but basically this just goes through and lists some of the more common claims or issues that we get from renters. And so listed them all here to help you out, get a head start and read through those. And then flipping through under the setup, this is super helpful, especially if you've never done it before. This gives you an order to complete everything when you get to your campsite. And so it just goes through from the beginning and goes all the way down through all these steps. And that way you don't get things out of order and you're not having to redo things. So definitely check out that. That's also on our website. And there is also a safety checklist here. So this one has the question, what should I check before departing my campsite? And you can see here just a checklist to go through. So before you depart, just kind of go through this list, check all the way down to make sure you got everything ready for the road. And then last but not least, rules page. We got all the rules here. Be sure to just check those out. You know, some of the more important ones are bring a sleeping bag for all your guests. We do require sleeping bags on both the inside and outside mattresses in the tent, and that's just for sanitary reasons. But yeah, definitely be sure to read through these rules. They're on our website under the rules section, and the rules just really help us keep the rig in pristine shape so that all our renters can enjoy it. And so thank you for taking time to watch this orientation video.